the bottom line in all this is that you can't take advice from people who are not doing what you're doing, who do not want to do what you're doing, and who do not understand where you want to go. And the only one who really understands what your goal is you. Because goals, we pivot with our goals, right? Like, and that was something I said I was afraid of. Remember, I said I was afraid of knowing when to pivot and when not to pivot. When are you on the right track and it's just going to take a little bit longer, or when is it time to pivot? And you know that. Only you know that. And sometimes what you know is that, hey, you need a coach, right? You need a coach. And so your coach might tell you, try this, try that, right? And sometimes it might take getting multiple different coaches, right? Because every coach's style is a little bit different. So you may have a coach that gets you started, gets you going. Let's say for workouts, gets you started, gets you going, but you're not getting the results that you want. Now you're going to get a coach that tells you that maybe focuses more on your diet and says like, hey, what are your goals? Are you looking to build muscle, lose fat, lose weight? What are you looking for? So that you can tweak your diet, because there are certain things about your diet that you need to do if you're trying to do one or more of those things. So, it's just being open to constantly learning new things is a blessing. Being open to and not being afraid to be a beginner at something. I'm always leery at somebody who's a know-it-all. And I mean, I know a lot of things, right? I know a lot of different things. But when I say somebody that's a know-it-all, somebody who's not willing to stop, listen, and learn something new. Because you never know where that new skill that you're going to learn is going to take you. You may not even realize, you may not use it today. It might be like 3 months from now, you might learn this skill. And then 3 months from now, you're like working on a goal and you're like, ah, bam, that thing that I learned way back there. I know why I learned it. I know how to use, I need to use that skill right now. And so, the thing is, never stop learning. Never stop. Never be afraid to be a beginner. All right? If there's one thing that you are afraid of, don't let it be that. Don't be afraid to be a beginner. I know it's hard. It's awkward. Especially when you have people around you who are telling you, who are, what can be intimidating is when somebody knows something and it feels like they're competing with you. What I want you to remember in those instances, when I don't know why somebody who knows something and knows that you don't know it yet would want to compete with you, but sometimes people, that's the downside of things, is that people like to make themselves feel better, sometimes by upscaling and comparing themselves to others and what they know. But what I want you to remember in those cases is that the only person you're competing against is yourself. You're not competing against anyone else. And so when you stay in that mindset, when you keep that mindset, guess what? You become invincible, because the only goal that you're trying to beat is the one that you reached yesterday. Right? So if you did 10 steps yesterday, today you're trying to do 20, right? You don't care what the next person next to you did. It doesn't matter. And that's how you build confidence. You don't build confidence by competing with someone else, because you will never be someone else. They will never be you. And so at that point, it's not that you're a failure, but you always you will you will always end up maybe feeling like a failure if you're competing with others, right? Because you're just going to have that feeling of not being enough. And so to close, I just want to say one last thing. The other thing that I heard today, that I wanted to share with you, was how, teamwork makes the dream work, right? And how when you work in teams, you are more likely, you don't want to fail because you don't want to fail your team, right? But there's a difference between working in a team and not wanting to fail your team, because if you're working in a team, your team, not only should you not want to fail your team, but your team should not want to see you fail, right? So working in a team is never about who in the team is the best. It's about the team being the best as a collective, right? And so, I think that's what's missing in this world today, but that's a topic for another day. But it's as you're doing things you're doing it as a collective. So if you have something that you're slacking in, your team helps and helps lift you, right? So that the team together can do better. If you see that your team has something, you have a skill that your team doesn't have, you bring that skill in to lift up the team. That's why a team has different positions. A basketball team or a football team, not everyone has the same skill, but you can't just play a football game with a quarterback. You need a running back, you need a center, you need offense, you need defense, right? It's not just one person doesn't make up the team. And so when the team is failing, when you lose a game, it's not just one person's fault, right? Although sometimes it's made to look that way, but it's not. It's a team as a collective. Did someone block for the quarterback? Why did the quarterback get sacked? Was he supposed to throw and block for himself? And sometimes that happens. Sometimes the quarterback picks up the slack, takes the run, runs with the ball, picks up a few yards, and takes the hit, right? He takes the hit for the team. So anyhow, well, I think that's it. That's all I have for you for today. But I hope this message found you well. You're never a failure unless there's something I don't think anyone's a failure, but failure is really when you're not trying. If you're not doing anything, if you're not willing to start, you're not willing to be a beginner. And if what you're doing, when you begin doing something, if what you're doing is not working, then you need to pivot and you try again. You try something else. You keep trying something else until you reach your goal. That's the beauty of success. Success doesn't come because you tried one thing and it worked. And you know what? There might be a fluke where somebody tries one thing and that one thing works. And you know what? Hats down to you if that has happened for you. But a lot of people have to try a lot of different things and do a lot of different things and pivot so that they can reach success. So every time, I want you to take a look at the people around you, pick 4 people, 5 people online. They could be in your life, or they could just be people that you see online that when you look at these people, you think they're successful. I want you to look at them and then maybe pick one person, one or 2 of them, and go back and see where they started. See how awkward they were. Maybe if it's a movie star, go back, see how awkward they were in their first moments. Maybe go back and find a film of a comedian that you think is super successful and see how awkward they were in their first comedy show. Maybe they got booed off the stage, right? But they didn't quit. They probably learned something that they should do different in that first show where they got booed off the stage, and they came back and they did that thing differently. And then maybe they made it a little bit longer before they got booed. Whatever. But go back and research those people and see that the truth of the matter is that when you see people coming up and they look like they're super successful, and maybe it looks like it happened overnight, it's not overnight. They did a lot of work. There's a lot of inner work, and most of the time that work that makes you successful is the work that you do in private. It's not the work that's in the public eye. It's not the glamorous stuff that has made you successful. You just look glamorous at the end. So anyhow, it was great talking to you today. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. What are you waiting for? Subscribe. Join us. Let's step into this authenticity of ours together. Let's gain this confidence together and do what? Stay beautiful, inspired, empowered, and sexy so you can keep taking care of yourself and those around you. Peace and love.